Hello, everyone at home. Hello, everyone who's watching this stream, and welcome, André Aciman here, joining us for this live stream, for this interview. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, so I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do today. We prepared an interview with Mr. Aciman. We're gonna talk about music, about silence or quietness, and of course literature, writing, whatever you are interested in, because you can ask questions in the chat, and we're gonna read them out loud. And so it's an interactive thing, and we talk about whatever you are interested in. I prepared some questions, but we will ask several times if there are any questions in the audience here live or on YouTube. Yes.
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to this. And we're gonna start now, if that's okay for you, Mr. Asi.
Sure.
So, my first question is, why do you like to give music a big role in your books?
Yes, it plays a very, very big role in my books, for several reasons, actually, because uh, music is ultimately what I consider the most perfect art. It's the best thing that humanity has created, even before the iPhone and computers. Okay? It is the best thing. It is ultimate. And so for me, it remains a standard of spirituality. It contains our whole life, but it also contains the life that we want to live. In other words, when you encounter something perfect, you want to say, I want it in my life. Why is my life not as perfect as that? And so that's the role that music plays in my work. It is basically the underscore of all the things that we have regretted, that we have not had, and that remind us that our life can be better.
Oh, beautiful said. Yes. So I guess music has influenced your life very much. So is there any piece of music, any particular piece of music, or that changed your life drastically? Or yes.
Well, it's going to sound horrible because, yes, there has been quite a few pieces of music that have changed my life. I grew up probably way, way before your time. I grew up listening to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. So those were my sort of foundation in rock music. But I also like classical music, and I think that the more I think of it, the it's Bach and always Beethoven quartets, which I adore. And the music of Bach is just, it's perfect. It's just perfect. There's nothing like it. So yes, it has, it's there in my life. And I think sometimes when you think of what comes after life, which is something you think about when you get to be my age, you think of, what will I do without music? If I have it, if I have consciousness afterwards. I don't think I will. But nevertheless, I'm very sorry that for the next 1 billion years, I will not be able to listen to music. Because it is so that it completes life. Music completes life.
Oh yes, I would agree to that too. You know that our theme of our book festival is silent or quiet. Would you and I found I think that your books are also quiet sometimes. What do you think? What role does silence play in your books?
It's silence is extremely important because, as you probably know, one of the most difficult things to do in life is to tell someone that you have feelings for them. It's easy to tell someone when they've already expressed their feelings for you, but it is the difficulty of saying, of articulating what you want and hopelessly desire to tell someone is probably one of the most painful things in life, especially if you feel that what you have feelings for are forbidden or will not be received well enough. So, I mean, when I wrote Call Me By Your Name, the whole story was about how a character called Elio sort of cradles these feelings but cannot express them. And when he does finally express them, he expresses them so indirectly and so obliquely that if the other person did not even have the merest suspicion, he wouldn't have understood. And he pretends not to have understood. And I think that this moment of confession is extremely important for me in many of my books where you cannot speak, or you're too embarrassed to speak, or you're too scared to speak, etc., etc. So yes, I think that silence is extremely important. Quiet is something different, as you know. It's not silence.
Yes, thank you. And what would you say what role has silence in your life apart from your books? Like, do you enjoy it, or, for example, for writing, do you have music, or do you write in silence?
I used to write with music. Now I cannot because I don't hear the rhythm of the sentence. So I can look at the words, but I don't hear the rhythm, the music of the words. And for me, the music of the words is very, very important, extremely important, as it is in Nietzsche, for example. These are basically, you hear the cadence, the rhythm of the words. And so I cannot have music. But I do listen to music sometimes, not always. And I have speakers in the bathroom so that when I take a shower, which sometimes I take twice, three times a day in the summer, I always have music playing. So it's a great privilege to have music. But at the same time, I need quiet. And if I live in a neighborhood that's loud, so that sometimes I don't have the necessary quiet that I need to think of things. It's not always easy to think of things when you're surrounded by noise. And I think
Yes.
that a lot of children growing up in noisy houses where there's always the TV because of the parents want the TV on. People go into the kitchen, into the bathroom, and then they leave the TV on all the time. And it's an intrusion on the children. It doesn't allow you to think, which is why people have the TV on all the time or loud, loud music. It prevents you from thinking, and that's a bad thing.
Why do you think people do not want to think? That doesn't sound logical. Like, what's your.
No, you don't want to think because you don't want to come to confront what it is that your life is like. You want to be either constantly distracted or constantly entertained. Which means that you don't have to do any work. You don't have to think. You don't have to ask yourself the fundamental question of what do I want to do with my life? Or I've read this book and I want to think about it because I like the book. Or I saw this movie and I want to think about it. If you don't allow yourself to think, everything comes and then disappears, disappears, disappears. So you're constantly distracted. And as a great French philosopher said, Pascal, who was a genius, basically we want to be constantly diverted from what it is that our life is. We don't want to look at how sometimes unhappy our lives are, how unfulfilling they can be. And so we want to be entertained. I'll put some songs on, rock and roll songs or whatever kind of music you listen to, rap, and it will simply, the beat will take you out of your own misery.
Would you say you managed to flee from this distraction, or created a technique for more consciously enjoying life? And do you have some tips for us who are very distracted?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have any tips for anybody. I'm still waiting to learn, and maybe I will never learn. But no, I need silence. I need quiet. I need to focus on what I want to do. But as I told you, when I go into the shower, I don't want to be alone in the shower. I want to put music on, to be because music can make you happy. That's what music does. It makes you happier. I mean, you can listen to, even if you listen to very sad music, it still makes you happy. And we all need music. We need something to distract us. I don't like television very much because I just don't enjoy it that much. So I don't watch much TV. But I know that people can live with, CNN or the equivalent in Germany. It can go on forever, all day long.
Yes. Well, sad for us, but yes. So I could ask a lot of things, but I do want to give the place for people in the audience. Oh, we have a question here right now.
I would be interested which kind of thoughts are coming up inside of him when he's surrounded by silence at the moment in this time.
The question is, what kind of thoughts come to your mind right now in this time when you're surrounded by silence?
I wish I were surrounded by silence, but I'm not. My window is closed, but usually on a Saturday, like today, we have people cleaning their cars. And when they clean their cars by hand, they turn on the music very, very loud. And so I have to, I put sound blockers in my ears from my headphones in order to be able to write. But I like silence. I like silence, but not all the time. I'm human. I like to hear, I like to speak to my friends. I love conversations, and I'm social. I'm very social. But at the same time, as a writer, you need to be by yourself. In that sense, COVID, which is a disaster, has been particularly beneficial for many writers and painters because it forces you to be alone and to accept loneliness and to stay home all day long, which I don't have the discipline to do. So I will take my bicycle outside and go around Central Park a few times a day simply because I need to get out. But I don't walk. I only now started to meet friends in public places, but it's complicated.
Would you say that COVID was beneficial for your art?
I don't know. I don't know yet. I have written more during COVID than I have before because I don't have to, I cannot go anywhere. And I don't like to take buses. I don't like to take the metro. I stay home a lot. And if I go out, I go on a bike and then I come back. So I avoid most things. So it's not beneficial. It has been propitious, put it this way. It has allowed me to to be at my desk for much longer than I normally do.
Yes, thank you. Maybe there are some questions from the internet? Yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
There is one question. Zina wants to know, did you know the music of Sufjan Stevens before they Call Me By Your Name movie?
I. Uh, because the director, when I went to visit the set, said, and we will have the music of Sufjan Stevens. And I said, oh, yeah, very good. Yeah, yeah. And I immediately took my cell phone and called my son in New York. I was in Italy. I called my son in one of my sons in New York. I said, who is Suf, whatever, Suf Stevens? He said, Dad, he's very, very famous. Okay, so I didn't know him. I had no idea because I don't listen to much rock and roll music now or any kind of contemporary music. So I'm more into, yeah, as I told you, Beethoven, sometimes Brahms, I love a lot, and Bach. I'm happy with those. So yes, I am backward, put it this way. But I thought the music was fantastic. It worked with the film, and the last scene of the film is a work of genius. The actor, the music, the direction, the idea of the whole way in which it was cast was brilliantly.
Yes, I think so too. Maybe another one, Jan?
Yes, BGM wants to know, have you ever thought of writing a children's or young adult book?
Yes, yes, because I used to tell my children when they were very young, I never read to my children because I thought it was boring. Um, what I would do is I would tell them stories, and I would make up the story as we went along. And sometimes I would get stuck, and they would say, yes, okay, what happens then? I said, wait a minute, I'm trying to figure it out. And I would. And eventually they wanted the same story again. And of course, I could not remember what the story was. So I would have to make up moments. And they would say, no, 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 that's not how it went. It went this way. Okay, okay, yeah, thank you for reminding me. But I love making up stories for children. And one of them was a beautiful story. It was about a chameleon. I don't know how you say chameleon in German. I'm so sorry. Yeah, okay, fine. Who basically had forgotten how to change colors. So it became a bit of a tragedy, but he escaped very well at the end.
Well, I'm sure we all would love to read that one day or read it out to our future children. I don't know. Yes. Are there other questions?
Another one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long one. I'll just read it out. Christine T writes, at the end of Call Me By Your Name, Elio asks his dad, does mom know? In the movie, I interpret that as Elio asked whether mom knew that his dad never felt for his mom like Elio felt for Oliver. But in the book, it seems that Elio was asking whether his mom knew about Elio and Oliver. Can you elaborate?
Yes, that is something that someone once asked me that question in public. It was a big auditorium, and that they asked me that question, and I said, "You are totally, totally right. My interpretation of my own book is wrong. In the book, it is exactly as in the book it is, does mom know that I was sleeping with Oliver? That's what I meant to say. I didn't think of anything else. But the way it is recited in the film by this brilliant actor, Michael Stuhlbarg, he basically made it sound as if he said, I never had what you have. And when the boy asks him, does mom know? Does mom know that you were attracted to men? And the answer is no, she doesn't know. And it makes much more sense, the second explanation, than the first. So from now on, I whenever I ask the question, I say that the second one makes more sense and it's a better explanation. And this has happened quite a few times in my life when the readership gives me information that I never sort of imagined and is more correct than what I had to say. Which is very satisfying for a writer because you realize that there are more meanings than you thought there were.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Oh, there's a question in the audience here.
I would be interested which scene from the book he was writing was the most silent one for him.
Okay, the question is, which scene from all your books you wrote would you say is the most silent?
Oh, there's some scenes in Find Me where the man and the woman are sitting face to face in a cafe, and they know that they have to say something, but they can't say it, and so they're silent. But I think the most clamorous, the best one that I know, is the one in Call Me by Your Name, in the book and in the film, because the film repeated it perfectly. It's the scene in which Elio tells Oliver something about the statue, and Oliver says, "Is there anything you don't know?" And Elio answers, there are so many things I know nothing about. So certainly the things that matter the most. And Oliver will reply, what things that matter the most, or something like that. And Elio cannot bring himself to say it. He is too sort of, he never planned to say anything, and suddenly he finds himself forced to confess. And I think that that scene, it's the most difficult scene in the book. The book was written very fast. That scene took a lot of writing because I wanted to have him say something without saying it, and have it be understood without the certainty that the other person had understood it. And the film does the same thing.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. um, yes, Jan?
Yes. Why did you choose to focus on the love life of Elio's dad in the second book?
Oh, because in many ways I was fascinated by the speech he had given his son. The speech came very easily. It was the kind of thing that my father would have said. But I was interested in what kind of man gives such a speech. What is the history of this man? What kind of mentality does it have? What kind of personality does he have? And suddenly I found myself from a very, very small focus to suddenly realize that this character for me was absolutely fascinating. And the relationship with the woman was fascinating too. And I wanted to spend time with it because that's what an author does. You spend time in this wonderful sort of garden that you've invented. You want to stay in the garden. You want to spend your life in it. And of course, you have to leave it just as the reader has to leave it. You have to leave it too. So you're constantly coming up with new gardens where you can sort of spend some time in. And I love the relationship with the woman. I love the character of the woman, especially because she seems bitter and angry at first, and then she turns out to be the sweetest person.
Another one?
Yes.
Nice. Regular James Black asks, what was your favorite book of yours to write?
That I'm sorry, I didn't get my favorite book. That.
What was your favorite book of yours to write?
Oh, the favorite book to write. I think it's a book that's not been successful because it's complicated. It's called Eight White Nights. It is still my favorite book because it's a book about two individuals who are clearly very attracted to each other, who I believe can even be totally in love with each other, but who cannot find the energy to confront each other. And when one does, the other doesn't want to. And when this one does, the other one doesn't want to, or is reluctant. And I'm usually, the reason why I like this book is because many of the moments, the most important moments in my life, were either approached with fear or intimidation, or with the opposite, which is indifference and reluctance. And the fear was not as powerful as I thought it was, and the indifference was really not indifference. But there was a kind of inertia in me that prevented me from jumping. Usually I jump when I feel that it's very, very safe to jump. Otherwise, I have no parachute, and I don't want to jump. And I think, if I'm honest, there are some people who are always taking risks. I admire them and I envy them. But most people are scared. And how do I know this? Because I always ask my students, I always say, how many of you have written a love letter to someone that you didn't know was going to respond with a yes? And you know what they told me? No one in class, in any of my classes, has ever written a love letter without the certainty that they were being accepted, so that people cannot even put it on paper. I have put it on paper to my great embarrassment, but I've put it on paper. Most people don't want to. They're too careful. And today with email, you don't want to put it in an email because you are afraid that this person is going to send it to all their friends. And now you will look completely ridiculous. So people keep quiet. They're scared.
Yes. Jan?
At the moment, there is no question.
Okay, we have another one in the audience.
I would be interested if he would be the hero of his own book about his life. What sort of book it would be if he's his life book?
Okay, I'm gonna repeat it. If there was a book about your life, what kind of book would that be, and would you be the hero? And yes.
Oh no, I would be. I would not be. I would be the principal character, of course, because
Yes,
it's my
of
life.
course.
But I would not be heroic in any sense. I'm a very indecisive, very timid, sometimes very awkward feeling person. I do not jump into adventures. I think about them, think about them, think about them. Then when I have to do them, I hate myself for having said yes. And then I say, but you know what? In retrospect, I enjoyed doing it. So, and people always tell me, you always say you loved it after you've done it. Why can't you go with an open mind when you do it? I don't know how to do that. So, but in essence, it would probably be not. I think most lives are not very happy lives. I'm very satisfied, but at the same time, I have experienced so many different things in my life that I wish I didn't have to live through. I didn't need to live through some of them. They formed me, they shaped me, they gave me a voice. But sometimes I wish I were born. I wish sometimes I were born either in Europe or in America, and that things went smoothly from the beginning to the very end. I was always sort of blocking things and sort of being confronted with obstacles that made life difficult.
Well, wie viel Zeit haben wir noch? How much time do we have left? So, okay. Yes, so the half hour is over, but we have time, so it's up to you if you want to continue, or you said that's it. And
If you have questions, yes. If you don't have questions, then no.
that's a good answer. So, do we have questions, Jan?
No, not on YouTube.
Okay. Well, then I would say thank you very, very much. It was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it a lot. And next time I'm in Germany, maybe I'll come to Lübeck. Who knows?
Oh, please
Yeah.
do. Yes, that.
It would be a pleasure. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. You've been wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, you are very welcome here and any time at the Kinder- und Jugendliteraturhaus. And
Okay.
I hope it was a very great interview. I learned a lot. It was very insightful, and I hope everyone at home enjoyed it too. Yes, so thank you
Perfect.
again, and
Thank you.
have
Thank you. Now you have to release me because I don't know what to do.
well. Then I'm gonna say goodbye to you and goodbye to everyone at home. I hope I'm sure we all had a great time, and I'm gonna say goodbye.
Bye. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.